Now let's talk about creating comments in your code. But first off, what are comments? Comments are notes in your code. They can be notes to yourself or notes to other coders who are looking at your file and who may be confused about how you organized it. You can also temporarily disable a block of code using a comment as well. So let me show you how comments work. So let's create a new Flash file from the welcome screen. Let's rename the first layer to Actions. Click the first keyframe of the Actions layer and go to Window Actions or press Option F9 or just F9 on the PC to open up the Actions panel. Now let's first talk about temporarily disabling a line of code. So I'm going to type trace. Let's do a trace statement. So type the word trace, all lowercase, open parenthesis, open quote, and trace something. You don't actually have to write something. You write whatever you want in the quotes. Then make sure you close the quote. Also notice that anything you put in quotes turns green. That's to tell you that you're working with a string. So if you ever want to use a string, it should be green every time. If it's not green, you can change it in the preferences, or if you don't like green for whatever reason, you can change that in the preferences as well. Just look under the preferences and find ActionScript. Alright, let's do a close parenthesis and a semicolon, and press Command Return or Control Enter on the PC to run the movie. So we got something popping up in our output window. Wonderful. Now let's say I wanted to temporarily disable this line of code. If I click right before the word trace, then I press //, notice that it all turns gray. That has turned that line of code into a comment. So if I want to make a comment that's one line, I use 2 //. So I'm going to click right after the semicolon, press Enter a few times. I'm going to type 2 //, and I can make a note of my code. Let's say I have another person working on my project named Mitch. I can type, "Hey Mitch, check this code out." It's great. Something like that. Or I can say this part of the code does this thing, or this part of the code does this thing. Or I can make notes in my own code that organize it for me. Let's say I want multiple lines of code to be commented out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase that line, go back to the trace statement. I'm going to delete the 2 // at the beginning of the trace statement by selecting them and pressing delete or backspace on my keyboard. Then I'm going to select this whole line of code just by clicking and dragging. I'm going to press Command or Control C to copy it. Click again after it, press Return or Enter, go to the next line. I'm going to paste the code using Control or Command V. If I want to comment out multiple lines of code, I can use something called a multi-line comment. Click right before the trace statement. I'm going to press Enter to push it down, press the up arrow to go up. I'm going to type a / and then an asterisk. Notice that both of the lines of code turn gray. If I click after the second trace statement and press Enter, I can type asterisk and then a /. And that will close out that multi-line comment. So if I went down to another line, I'd type a trace statement. Notice that it turns blue. So that is how to write comments. Let me show you one more thing real quick now that you know how to type them out. You actually don't have to type them out by hand. You can actually select a line of code, and if I want it to be a single line comment, there's a button up here in the coding toolbar where you can select something to be a line comment. So if I click this button, Apply Line Comment, it comments out that line. If I want to take away a comment, I can just select code that's commented out, then I click this button to remove comment. Pretty handy, huh? If I select both of these lines, then I can click Apply Block Comment, and that'll apply a block comment. Notice that the asterisk and the / here are not on separate lines, like how I put them earlier, and it does not matter. I just like to do it because I feel more organized when my comments are on separate lines, but your call there. Now again, we can select and remove the comment by clicking the button. And that is how to work with comments.